up with, but it barely does the website service. It is immense. Even those of us that use Khan Academy are often, I don't think we can wrap our heads around how much information, how many content areas are there. So instead of trying to describe it to you, let me show it to you instead. What you see here, and I do realize that for some of you, the screen resolution might be a little fuzzy, so I'll go ahead and zoom in. But just to give you an overview, what you see here is all the content that Khan Academy encompasses. So let me try and zoom in a little bit for some people. Okay, that's about as far as I can go. But for this, go ahead and... Okay, sorry, there was someone talking, but I think I'm muted. Okay, I think I actually might have muted permanently by mistake. But, okay. To give you some idea of the breadth of Khan Academy, first and foremost, used to be a math program. So you're going to notice that it has every single grade level of math. We start at kindergarten math all the way from 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade. Then we go up into high school math as well. We have Algebra 1. Oh, let me grab my laser pointer there. Oh, apparently I can't do that and zoom in at the same time. Oh well. We have Algebra 1, we have Geometry, we have Algebra 2, Trigonometry, Pre-Calculus, and this goes all the way into college math itself. Now with the pandemic, another treat for math teachers, Khan Academy released here that you can see, Khan Academy released Get Ready For courses. So essentially it takes the previous year's worth of learning or scaffolded standards worth of learning and it encapsulates them into mini courses. So at the beginning of the school year, they can be assigned to students to help them remediate some of their previous difficulties in mathematics. Now, again, Khan Academy has extensive offerings for math because it started as a math website, but it has grown since then. It also has a lot of offerings for science. Now, most of Khan Academy's science offerings do tend to be at the high school level, so there's not a huge amount of usefulness there for middle school or for elementary school teachers, but it still can be useful for some middle school teachers. For example, high school biology. I know many of our schools offer biology as well at the middle school level. College biology AP obviously might not be applicable for us, but if you want to cherry pick some lessons there which might be useful to you, you have access to it. We have access to chemistry as well as biology. We have access to physics, environmental sciences, and there are actually even more science offerings hidden underneath there. The list goes on. Underneath, Khan Academy offers computing as well. So we're talking about computer science courses. We're talking about computer science principles courses, computer programming courses, also basic coding. And when I say basic, I mean very friendly for elementary school students. You have coding options where students can create their own animations. It's really cool. And once again, it's completely free. And all of this students can access with the same account. So it's also very useful for you. Scrolling up as well, Khan Academy has a history section as well. So you have US history, US government and civics, world history, art history. Now again, many of those, although they were originally built for high school level, some even for university level, they're still extremely useful at the middle school or even the elementary level, depending on what you're covering. I have colleagues in 7th, 6th, and 8th grade who teach civics, US history, and world history, and they all, on occasion, use videos from Khan Academy from those groupings to kind of reinforce their lessons. Scrolling down, you have different forms of economics, if that is something that you happen to teach, which I know isn't most of us, macroeconomics, microeconomics, other types of economics. And finally, just like Khan Academy has things for math, it also has things for reading and language arts. This is a new program that they've begun rolling out, but Khan Academy has reading and language arts courses and exercises and videos and instructional material for all grade levels 1 to 9 that I know of. They might have expanded further. They have materials from grade levels 1 to 9 for reading as well. They also have a specific course for grammar, which again, I know several colleagues in my own school who use it because they say it's quite frankly incredible. And then, of course, you know, a few more offerings which are not to be scoffed at. We have social emotional learning and we have the growth mindset learning. In each of these cases, especially for growth mindset, you have courses and lesson plans which are fit to all grade levels, so elementary, middle, and high school. For example, something I love to do with Khan Academy at the beginning of the school year, I start off with a lesson on growth mindset. I try and get them out of the idea that they, for example, in my case, that they can't do math, or maybe in someone else's case, I can't do science. No, no, no. You can't do math, you can't do science yet. You're going to improve, you're going to fail along the way, and that's okay. But you're going to improve, you're going to grow. So that's actually one of the things I really, really, really like about Khan Academy. Okie dokie. So, moving on. Okay, now you've gotten a taste for Khan Academy. You've begun to appreciate how many different subject areas it can be useful for. But the question is, how does it work? Like, walk us through it. So, here we go. When a student logs in, this is what they see. This is their home page. Now, again, I'm zooming in just in case anyone has a poor screen resolution, but they see their name up top. They have their courses. That is something, and as you can see, this sample student, for example, has a ton of math courses, but each student gets to choose their courses and the teachers get to assign it to them. Students can see their progress in different missions. They can edit their profile and they can see their teachers. At the very top, Khan Academy has ways to incentivize the students to try learning on their own, because Khan Academy is really wonderful for that. It tries to get students to learn on their own. It incentivizes them to pursue learning independently of their required work. So up top, they have something called mission points. Mission points, which you can see, it's that little box up. Let me go ahead and it's this little box up here. Yes, their mission points grow with the more time and energy that they put into Khan Academy, with the more exercises that they completed. And then to the right-hand side of those mission points, you can also see badges, which they win for special accomplishments, either getting a certain number of math facts right in a row, or coding a challenge successfully, or answering science or reading questions. So it's really cool, and it incentivizes student learning. And it also doesn't do so in a childish and overly childish way, which sometimes turns students off. So what students do is when they've logged into their account, they go up to the very top to courses. When they click on courses, they see the enormous drop-down menu that we saw before. Yes? So from here, the student can navigate to whatever course they're doing. So let's imagine, for instance, that I were a third grade math teacher. Yes? In my case, the student would click on third grade, and their third grade math would open. I would like to just go back for a second. I'd like to point out how incredibly useful this is, either for a math teacher, a language arts teacher, a history teacher. Let's say you have a student that doesn't understand a concept and you need to remediate back to a previous grade level or a skill set that's maybe 2-3 grade levels back. Unlike our textbooks and some of the resources we usually have, with Khan Academy, you have access to everything. So let's say I'm a third grade teacher, but my student is struggling with first grade material. I can just go ahead and click on first grade material and work with the student with that material that I also have access to. So it's really cool for that purpose too. Anyway, moving on. So the student goes ahead, they click on their third grade, yes? Now, as you can see, the grade level is at the top left. It's listed there, third grade math. And now each grade level is broken down into modules. Here are just 2 of them. You can see on the left, the module titles and the purple bar indicating student progress. Modules are obviously the different subsets of the grade level. So the students have their different modules here. And then let's say they want to work on Intro to Multiplication, which is the first module. All they would have to do is click on that, and boom, that module opens up. And now students see the breakdown of individual lessons, which you can see on the left-hand side. Let me zoom in there. The individual lessons, which take the place videos. So students have videos that they can watch. And then on the right-hand side, students have exercises that they can do after they watch the videos to make sure they understood. And FYI, all the videos and exercises are Common Core aligned, which is the same thing as saying they're Florida standard aligned. That being said, I know our standards are changing next year, so, but still, the questions are very rigorous, and students are not just given incredibly easy things, though it is made simple for them so they'll understand. So anyway, students have their videos and students have their exercises on the right. Yeah. So when a student goes to a video and they click on it, this pops up. It's embedded within the Khan Academy website, but essentially it redirects to Khan Academy's website. Not website, Khan Academy's YouTube account. My apologies. And here you have a simple video. Most of them will be, depending on the topic, of course, you can go from 0 to, I think at most 10 minutes long. And 10 minutes would be for I don't know, linear algebra or something like that. But if we're talking about division into equal groups, you're talking about a 5-minute video, something simple, something to the point, a 5-minute video, and then afterward, when students are done with the video, they can just go ahead and click on the exercise they would do for that video. Now, something important before I go on about the videos, and this is absolutely fantastic, Khan Academy's YouTube videos come with subtitles. These subtitles can be set to other languages. And this is so incredibly important. Khan Academy's videos, not only can the subtitles be set to other languages, and by other languages, I am talking about Spanish, Italian, French, I believe Chinese and Arabic are supported as well. We have a large amount of languages. I am not sure if Haitian Creole is supported. I have not yet had a situation in my particular class where I needed to assign Haitian Creole. I know that French is, but I'm not sure about Haitian Creole. But I do have absolutely wonderful news in that in terms of the video itself, if your students elect Spanish as their main, and I know that so many of us in Miami-Dade County, our students primarily will either speak English, Spanish, Haitian Creole, or a variety of such. I know that specifically for Spanish, if students select their Khan Academy accounts to Spanish, the video itself can be in Spanish, not just the subtitles, but also the content delivery, which can be an absolute game changer for so many of us, especially if we don't happen to be bilingual and we want to help that student some more. I see that Ms. Marroquin has asked a question. Ms. Marroquin, I haven't forgotten about you, but I'll answer it at the end of this section. Actually, that's going to be later on in the presentation, and yes, you can assign things to students. Okay, so let's say the student has watched the video. They then go to their exercise. It's fairly straightforward enough. They have their drop-down menus, multiple item responses, whatever they need to help them prepare. But the most important thing that I want you to notice is down here, students see how many questions they've gotten right or wrong. Students can retake the same exercise as many times as they need to get the highest score they can. They're not always going to get the same questions. Khan Academy's question banks are quite extensive, but they do get, I mean, the question bank isn't limitless, but it is fairly extensive, so they can repeat an assignment various times, getting different questions, and they can improve their learning. And through this way, Khan Academy incentivizes a growth mindset where it's not just, oh, I got a 50%. No, you can do something about it. Try it again. You get a 75. Try again, until you get that 100%, which I find my students love. Also, notice down here, there's the watch a video or use a hint option. Now, if students are struggling with a particular question, they can go ahead and click on that. You'll notice, of course, I changed from equal groups in 3rd grade to something a little bit more difficult. This screenshot is from something else altogether, but the same concept applies. When they click use a hint, they'll be given a video which they can watch, which is essentially the Khan Academy lesson related to directly that question to help them understand what's going on. If they watched it and they still don't understand, then, and just to zoom in there so you guys can see the lesson, please notice it's only 5 minutes long. We're not talking about super long lessons in general. But let's say they watched the lesson, they didn't really understand, then they can click get a hint. If they click get a hint, they'll get the question wrong. However, it will give them a step-by-step, broken down explanation, not just mathematical in terms of math, but with explanations. In language arts, it will explain why the student got it wrong. In grammar, a color-coded sentence structure. In science, an explanation, again, with pictures. I've seen science explanations specifically with pictures and diagrams. This, quite honestly, can be a bit of a game changer because sometimes, I mean, if kids get a question wrong, to have a hint explained to you, not just with, oh, these are the steps you follow, but these are the steps you follow and why, that can be a game changer. And again, please don't get mildly freaked out by how large this is. I did jump ahead to a more complicated exercise for this screenshot, but generally the explanations are simple and to the point. Okay, and moving on. So let's say the students have finished the videos and the exercises having to do with a particular module, yes? Now they're not done with the whole module yet. Let's say they're halfway through. So as you can see, this student under their module, they worked on multiplication as equal groups. I'm zooming in on the top left just in case. The student worked on multiplication as equal groups and multiplication on the number line. But now, before they advance to multiplication as groups as objects, before they advance to the next skill set, they're going to do a small quiz. You can either assign these as teachers or students can take it on their own to practice. They want to take the quizzes to make sure they do well on them before they get to their unit test. The unit test, quizzes, by the way, are usually about 5, maybe 7 questions long, so not terribly lengthy. And then when students have finished with the quizzes, they've moved on to other modules, they finished every piece of information in the module, they finished the last quiz, students can finally encounter the unit test. So on the unit test, students will typically have, it depends on the subject, it depends on the grade level, but let's say a 15 to 20 minute long test comprised of all the material they've learned so far in Khan Academy. The same rules apply. If they don't understand something, they can watch a video explaining it. And if they need to, they can use a hint, but they get the question wrong. And just like every other exercise, let's say they don't do well on the first try, they can try again. They can try as much as they need to bring up their scores. Now, you as a teacher, by the way, can see the number of attempts they made on the unit test. So if you would like, for example, to allow a student to take as many tries as possible, you can do that. If you'd like to limit them to only one try, the first try, because you want to use this for assessment purposes, you can also do that. It offers you a lot of flexibility. Something I would like to point out, the whole point of the unit test and taking these quizzes, I'm sure some of you have noticed that there seem to be these little purple towers next to the exercises. The explanation for that is that these purple towers indicate mastery of content. So you notice here the 3 towers on top inside the red box are full towers with the crown on the top. This means that a student has earned 100% of understanding here. Now the tower on the bottom part of the tower, the first 50% is filled. The second part of the tower, which comprises the next 30%, is filled, but the crown is not filled. The way Khan Academy works is they allow students a mastery level of 80%, but the final 20% must be achieved by taking a unit test. There must be some form of performance on assessment to make sure that the student truly understands. And all of that factors into these mastery points that you see up top. Let me stop zooming out. These mastery points up top here, these mastery points determine what percentage of a module a student has mastered, their percentage of understanding, which feeds into the overall course level. It feeds into the overall course level mastery points, which I highlighted up here. So, for example, this student has mastered 99% of 3rd grade. If this were a 3rd grade student, I would feel fairly confident this student would pass my end of year exam and the student understands the material. Now, FYI, the next step, I have explained what Khan Academy was. I hope I didn't take too long. I went in depth. We spent about 15 minutes on that. The next thing that I'm going to present about is how can I use this in my classroom. So I'm going to give you concrete examples of how you can bring it into your classroom, etc. However, before I move on to this section, I just want to ask, does anyone have any questions about how Khan Academy itself works? If you do, now's the time. Just if anyone has any questions.
Hi, I have a quick question. When you said that Khan Academy allows them to retake it until they reach mastery, does it give the students an actual score, or does it just like indicate a color for them? Like
it gives
red,
them
non-proficient.
It gives them both. It doesn't give them a red, yellow, or green score. It gives them green and gray. If you get a question gray, it's wrong. If you get a question green, you got it right. It does give you a score. So, I mean, for example, typically some math questions for Khan Academy are 7 questions long, no? So it does give you a score. So the first time I see my students saying, oh no, I got a 57%, then they try again. Oh, I got a 71%. They try again. An 87, this is killing me. Then they try it again and they get 100. So they do see the score as well. Does that answer your question? Okay, I'm going to assume that did.
Sorry, I muted her.
Oh, okay.
Ms. Rashida, if you would like to reply, you can unmute yourself. Sorry, feedback is terrible.
Oh, there it is. Okay, now, okay, well, I have my apologies. I have to end the slideshow to mute myself. Hopefully that helps with the feedback.
Okay, okay. Sorry about that. I was saying that when they choose to redo it, are they only redoing the question types that they got wrong, or are they redoing the entire practice?
They redo the entire practice. So usually exercises are not lengthy at all. Like I said, typically it's 4 to 7 questions tops, but the way Khan Academy works, it's not focusing on the question type that they got wrong. Each question set is focused on a skill set. So they're redoing all the questions related to that skill set until they understand the skill well. Does that answer your question? Okay.
Yes.
Any other questions? Good. Any other questions before I move on? Okay, sounds good. So I unmuted myself. I'm going to go ahead and present again. Okay, and I confirmed on my second screen that you all can see it. So let me go ahead. Now, the question is, how can I use this in my classroom? It looks great. Why do I care? I have so many other things to do. I have iReady that I need to make them do. I have the test that I need to prepare for. Things are driving me crazy. Why should I use it? Which is a very valid question. The reason why you should use it is because it's the perfect answer for literally everything. And I mean that because I use it for everything in my classroom. You can use it as classwork assignments. You can use it as homework. You can use it for front loading. Let's say you want to assign a video for homework that they watch and then they come into class before you have a discussion. It works for me as math. It would definitely work for history. It would definitely work for biology. Standards-based instruction. Like I said, all the resources are standards aligned. They are rigorous resources. Even next year, after we move to the best standards, you're still going to have rigorous resources that you compare with standards. You can use this for differentiated instruction. That part of the presentation is coming along later, but essentially you can assign different Khan Academy exercises to different students and track what they're doing. So let's say Johnny and Susan have problems with standard 1, but Frank has a problem with standard 2. You can assign Johnny and Susan standard 1 work. You can assign Frank standard 2 work, and you can check it all. It works perfectly for assessments. As I already explained, we have quizzes, we have tests. You can see student understanding by how many crowns they've got, by their scores and assessments. You can use it for whole group instruction. You can use it for rotations. Different groups work on different things. You can use it to flip the classroom. Again, talking about front loading. You can use it for tutoring by assigning different things to different students. And most importantly, this is what I love it for, you can use it to work ahead. In every class, we always have at minimum one, many times more than one student that quite frankly are bored. We finish teaching something and then they're sitting there. They did the assignment, they got it. Everyone else in the class is still working and they're just there. Sometimes they become disciplinary issues. Sometimes they grow lazy, they go tired, they grow apathetic because they're so much faster at the subject than other students. With Khan Academy, they have access to an entire digital interactive set of their curriculum. They don't have to wait for you. They can move ahead. They can watch a video, they can do an exercise, they can practice, they can learn independently, and that is such a great feeling. Also, I didn't put it on the slide, I thought of it afterward, but it's perfect for when substitutes come. Personally, I don't use the Khan Academy videos, I use my own videos, but either way, a mixture of Khan Academy videos, your own videos, coupled with the exercises, substitute days no longer have to be days of lost instruction. You can actually assign the students learning to take place because they can learn from the videos. Okay, so all in all, it's a very versatile program. Now, let me walk you through a scenario. Let's say that I am a 6th grade English language arts teacher, and I'm scrolling through my material, as one does, yes? Let me zoom in there just in case anyone couldn't see, but I'm scrolling through my material here, I'm scrolling through my modules. I think to myself, I want to take a look at banning behavior. That's going to be one of my modules, so let me go ahead and click on that. So you click on that, and boom, for language arts, obviously we're going to have articles, not just videos. So we have some articles pop up. Here we have some videos, some exercises. So okay, I want to explore one of these videos. I want to see if I can use it with my students. So I'm going to click on one of these videos. When I click on it, the video pops up, making inferences and informational text, reading. The video pops up. Okay, I can watch it. Notice, again, 5 minutes long. We're talking things that are not onerous, they're not difficult. The video pops up, I can go ahead, I can look at it. Okay, I like this, I want to assign it for homework to front load tomorrow's lesson. Now, if you notice at the very top, here's the assign feature. And I think it's Ms. Marroquin who asked a question about this earlier. The assign feature lets you assign this to students. This is the awesome bit. So I'm going to use that assign feature. I'm going to go ahead and click on, first, it gives you the option to choose what class you're assigning it to. Obviously, I have a ton of classes and they're all math, but you, once you've created your classes, which yes, I will teach you how to do later on. Once you've created your classes, you just go ahead and click, okay, I want to assign it to period 3, let's say. Then afterward, oh, by the way, in case you didn't notice, you can assign it to multiple classes. So you can assign to period 3, 5, Saturday, all at the same time. Then afterward, you can select which students you would like to assign it to. Guys, you're going to notice that I blotted out student names, obviously for privacy reasons. I'm not sharing student information in the presentation, so they're just random letters, but this is an actual class. I can choose which students I assigned it to, which again is so awesome for differentiated instruction. And then afterward, I choose my due date and my due time. And that's it. That's honestly how easy it is. After you click let me use the laser pointer. After you go ahead and click, after you click the period that you want, the students that you want, and the due date that you want, you just click on the assign button and you're done. It's that easy. Let's say afterward I find an exercise that I want to assign instead. Yeah. So here again, I'm pretending I'm a language arts teacher. Here we have a language arts exercise. I think it was analyzing texts. I'll be honest, I don't quite remember. But okay, we have an exercise. Okay, so let me assign it. Again, I click on the period that I would like to assign. Let's say in this case I chose period 6. But this time I don't want to assign it to everyone. Let's say this exercise just relates to a standard that only 5 students don't understand. So I can specifically select none of my students, then I check off the 5 students I want to assign it to, and then boom, you're done. You just go ahead, select the due time, the due date, and you click assign. That's it. Also, you notice I didn't make a big deal out of this. It's not something that I've explored too much, but if you're working with the group for whole group instructions, I'd like you to notice in the middle there, you have the option where it says different questions. Instead of different questions, you can select everyone to be working on the same question at the same time. Maybe you want to use these exercises as a way for students to talk with each other and discuss answers. Maybe you want to use it for whole group instruction. You have that flexibility as well. This approach really is perfect for differentiated instruction. I mean, obviously for standards-based instruction, but at a time when, doing groups, rotations, and all of that can be absolutely onerous and cumbersome. Here you can just assign different assignments to different groups. They can work together virtually. Everything's virtual. It's really kind of like a ready-made solution. Okay, so by the way, the next bit, I'll tell you how to track your students, because you're like, oh, this is great. I can have them do so many things. Now, how do I keep a track on their grades? And is it going to be easy? Yes, it is going to be easy, but that's coming next. Okay, for now, though, we just described how to, assign an assignment, how to assign an exercise. Before I move on, does anyone have any questions about that? Any questions at all?
You'll have to take yourself off mute to ask your question or type it in the box.
Well, I guess no questions is a good thing. I mean, no questions either means I'm doing a terrible presentation or I'm being very clear. Oh, okay. So thank you for that comment. So yay, I'm being very clear. Okay, good. Thank you very much. Okay, so let's progress. I told you guys I wanted to make it simple, to the point, and useful, so I'm trying to do just that. All right, so the next question. How do I track my students? What information do I have at my disposal? How can I do this? What tools do I have? Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to my personal teacher page. So this is what I see as a teacher. At the top, I can go to my classes, my students, my resources. A lot of complication. Classes works just fine. Under classes, you see all of these classes, which are my classes. I have a few. The number of students in each one, easy peasy. Let's say I get a new class that I want to create. I mean, there's a button that says add a class. It's fairly intuitive. And yeah, no, it's very straightforward. You have your classes here, and then you can add a class if you need to, which of course, if you guys use Khan Academy for the first time, you need to add a class. Okay, now let's go ahead and let's explore what it looks like within one of my classes, because this is the fun bit. Okay, so inside of a class looks like this. Again, I erased all the students' personal information, obviously, but here on the left, here are the tools that you can see. Inside of a class, I can see the activity overview for students. I can see students' course mastery, their placement in the course, their progress in the course. I can go ahead and see their assignments, how they've been doing, and there's so much to get, so many possibilities there. Do you have to use everything? No, but it's nice to know it exists in case you need it. Students will have their names here, then their username or email, which is what they can use if they ever get logged out. That will be in a later part of the presentation. Not too far from now, but I'll explain to you how to create accounts for students or have them join your class. And then on the right-hand side, you have actions such as maybe you want to remove a student from your class or add a student. You can do that here with these options. And then if you want to have a student join, which again, that information is coming later on, there's a class code that you can share and they can go ahead and join that way. What I most like about this, I mean, outside of these amazing tools, which we're about to go into, just in case you can't see, if you notice, I blotted out the student names, but I left the first letter of them, they are visible. Why? Because they're in alphabetical order. And I don't know about you guys, but that is a huge deal for me. Because anytime I have students joining an online resource, they join with whatever name they want. For example, and I'm making this name up, Panchito Velasco is not named Panchito Velasco. Panchito Velasco's actual name is Panchito Juanito Velasco el Segundo, God knows what. And they write the full name, which, I mean, by all means, that's the name the student feels comfortable with. That's the name that they identify with culturally, fine. But when it comes to my doing grading, that slightly complicates things. Khan Academy lets you take the student's name, whatever they chose as their name, and edit it. So what I can do is I can do last name, comma, first name. And boom, I get a roster in perfect alphabetical order. It's a dream. The students still see the name as whatever they would like to see on their end, but on my end, I see a list, an alphabetized list of student scores that I can just go chicka, 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 chicka in the gradebook. It is wonderful. Okay, so now let's explore these tools that we have over here on the left-hand side. Yes? Okay, let's go for that. The first tool, which you can see up here, is the activity overview. Now, when I click on the activity overview, this is what pops up. I can see students' activity or skills. For their activity, I can set the time frame to absolutely whatever I want. Let me zoom in there. I can set the time frame to whatever time frame I want. So for this, I did the last 30 days. And I can scroll through and I can see the total minutes students have spent active learning on Khan Academy. For example, the first student has spent 2 minutes active. Full disclosure, this year, this class did not use it as much as past classes. So this student, perhaps a little lazy. I just, throw that out there. As opposed to a student further down, student last name starts with E. Now this student put in 213 total minutes. Now, in terms of either who I think might potentially pass my FSA, I think I have a clue here in between these two candidates. If I think, oh, which one of these two deserves extra credit? Well, I think that answer obviously answers itself. But you can see the total amount of time students have put in. And again, you can change the time frame. You can show the skills that they leveled up. So, let's say a student, for example, might have put in 500 hours, 500 minutes of time, but if they didn't level up on any skills, something's going on there. And yes, you can click for further information, but it gives you more data to work with, and it's something easy. It's not terribly difficult to understand. And then over here on the right-hand side, at the very top of the screen, you can see skills without progress. So for example, this mega student that I described earlier, sure, they put 213 minutes of work in, they leveled up on 14 skills, but there are 7 skills that they don't have progress in. So maybe I want to see if I can remediate a little bit on those skills, if I can zoom in on those and try and make small group instruction for that student and maybe a few others that didn't understand certain skills. It's an awesome view. Also, if you go ahead, you remember how I told you that you have the activity tab, which was this, and then you have the skill tab. If you click on the skill tab, this gives you the breakdown. So here, obviously I'm a 7th grade math teacher. My students are enrolled in the 7th grade course. I can see the mastery levels of the bulk of my class. This gives me a visual representation. So for example, when it comes to negative numbers, in sign of sums, look at all that purple. My students are doing phenomenally well in the first bar. Now on the third bar, missing numbers on the number line, not so hot. I can tell I need to do something here. Here, adding negative numbers on the number line, I've got a solid purple bar. So the students that get it really get it, but the amount of gray indicates that a lot of my students haven't even done the assignment. Now, if I want more information, I can click on any one of these skills, which are basically exercises in Khan Academy with a corresponding video. I can click on a skill, and lo and behold, it breaks it down for me even further. So sign of sums, please notice, it gives me the standard for the skill. So it's not just, oh, these are exercises. No, no, no. These are exercises with their corresponding standard. You can see how many students have attempted it, how many have started it, but they're not quite there yet, how many are proficient with it, and how many have mastered it. So this gives you a perfect way to identify who you need to target for which standards, for which skills, in what differentiated instruction setting. It's wonderful. It's direct, it's to the point, it's user-friendly. And you can do this for literally every single skill in your entire, whatchamacallit, I made the mistake of looking at the chat and trying to present at the same time, in their entire curriculum. The question that was asked in the chat, yes, I will answer that. Give me 1 second. We're nearly at the end of the section. And yes, I will answer that in a second. Just give me a few. Okay, so moving on to the next one. You also have here, you have the option for, you can access the student's activity log. Now this is particularly fun because remember I showed you here under activity, these names, the student names that I blotted out, they're blue for a reason. They're hyperlinks. Let's say I want to find out more details about one of these students. Okay, this student has spent 2 minutes learning, no skills leveled up, skills without progress 1. Let me find out more about her. I can click on their student's name, and then it takes me here to the student's activity log. Now in the activity log, again, I can go ahead and I can filter for a time frame that I want, the type of content that I want, the activities that I want, maybe just videos, maybe just exercises, maybe just articles. And I can see what they worked on. Okay, these are the exact skills. So they worked on the same skill. Notice it gives me a timestamp with the date. So they did the skill one time at 10:25 a.m. They did not do well. They went down. And then they did it again at 10:26 and they went up. So you can see the total amount of time that they spent, the total amount they spent on exercises, the time for each individual component, and their score for each one. So it's very handy. And then if you go to assignments, this is the godsend. And this I want to show all of you. This is the history of the student since the beginning of the school year. I can see everything the student has completed. I can see if it was late or not. And if you focus here on the very top, it shows you the number of attempts the student needed to do it in. So if I have a student that got 100%, but took 2 times, that student gets it. If I have a student that had 100%, but it took 17 times, which has happened to me, okay, that student could use a little work. And then my all-time most anger-causing event is when I have a student who got a 0, but only tried it once. That pisses me off. If you have a website that lets you redo it as many times as you need to improve your score, there is no excuse for trying 1 time with a 0. 2 times, okay, you didn't get it, you tried. But 1 time, But all in all, this, like I said, you see all the scores on the right, you see the number of attempts, you see when it was completed, if it was late, the title of the exercises, the timestamp of the exercises, the date stamp, which means whenever you have a parent-teacher conference, this is a gold mine. I'm just saying. And you get this individualized for each and every student. Next, here also you have the progress element under course mastery. So under course mastery, under progress, you can check on how students are doing in 7th grade mastery. So in this other class, for example, in terms of understanding the whole 7th grade, we are not looking too well. This student has only mastered 4% of it. My highest student has only mastered 53% of it. This is looking bad. Then here I get, again, a visual representation of it. This is the graph showing the median point for most of my students and where most of them are right now. We need some work. Then it breaks it down by the modules, by the different units. For example, I can tell that my students are doing way better in negative numbers, addition, subtraction than they are in negative numbers, multiplication, division. So, I mean, I don't want to spend too much time on this because it's kind of self-explanatory. Plus, we already have all these awesome breakdowns here under the previous activity overview. So, you know, just different ways of doing the same thing, basically. And then here, Oh, this is the beauty. This is what all of us will love because we are all teachers and all of us have issues with inputting grades. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you an organized roster in alphabetical order with their scores. The title's up there on top, then you have the scores. So if you are entering into the gradebook, it literally could not be simpler. It's in alphabetical order, 100, 100, 100, 100, 100, Z, 100, 100, 100, 100, 100, 100, 100, boom. This is heaven. Oh, and by the way, if you click on their individual scores, which I didn't include because sometimes too much data can be overfill, but let's say, okay, student B got 100% on this exercise, or student B got a 50% on this exercise. If you click on that 50%, you will get an itemized breakdown of the questions the student got correct and the questions the student got wrong. You can see everything. You can remediate one-on-one. The possibilities are endless. And again, I don't want to overwhelm you. I'm not saying that you have to use everything, because you don't. But you have all of this at your disposal. So the highlights that I want to highlight here before I answer Miss Mastronardi's question, and I apologize if I made a mistake pronouncing that, the highlights that I want to come back to are this report right here, where you can see how students are doing in specific skills in your class. This report right here for parent-teacher conferences, where you can see every single thing the student has ever done. And then this report right here, which is basically, hey, it's my gradebook. It's done. Okay, now, before I open the floor up for questions, because that's it for here. Before I open the floor up for questions, before moving to the next one, I have a question from earlier from Miss Mastronardi. Again, my apologies if I mispronounced that. Is there a way to see my students' projects in the computer programming part under profile? I'll be entirely honest with you. I'm not sure. I've never experimented with computer programming. I think there is a way if you create a class and you set the goal for that class to be computer programming. I believe there is a way for you to either from the home page or if you click on students' information to see their projects as they go through that. But again, my apologies. That I don't know specifically since I don't have any personal experience leading a class in computer programming. So I hope that at least partially answered the question. Okay, outside of that, I mean, if you have another follow-up question on that or if anyone else has a question, I will stop talking now to allow you guys to talk. Any questions?
Can you say again how you got to the student data? Can you show that again? That screen that you have on the screen?
Of course. Sorry, I'm sorry, it kind of cut out there. I was restarting my speaker. You said to show you the student data. Which student data?
That screen that you have on the screen right now.
Oh, this one?
Yes.
Would you like me to zoom in?
Yeah. How did you get there? Because I don't know how to get there online.
Yes. Of course, no problem. Okay, so on the left-hand side, underneath where it says assignments, you have options for assign, scores, and manage. If you just click on scores, this is what pops up. All your assignment scores for all of time. Okay. I see a question about setting up classes and the students have codes, but what happens next? That is actually the very next part of the presentation. We're going to discuss here how to create a student account and how you can share that code with your students so they can join your class. So that's right up next. And to the speaker that asked about how to access this screen, the scores, does this answer your question? Do you have a follow-up question? All good?
Yes, I found it. Thank you.
Of course. Okay, so what is the difference between mastery level and proficient level? So let's go back. Okay, so basically, I mean, this is just Khan Academy verbiage. It's, it doesn't necessarily relate with Dade County Public Schools, but the way it sets this up, attempted means either I haven't tried it or I tried it and I did not do well. Familiar, I tried it, I did okay. Proficient, I apologize. Attempted is I tried it and I failed. I need help. Then over here we have not started on the right-hand side. Now, in the middle, we have familiar, proficient, master. So familiar is I tried it, I need to do it again. I got like a 50 or 70%. Proficient is when a student reaches 80%. So you'll excuse me here. I'm going to try going back to a previous slide. So no, not that slide. Sorry, guys. If you remember here from this slide, I showed that you have the column system, right? So basically, a student has attempted when they get to the first mark, getting a 50% on an exam. Then they get to proficient when they get to that 80%. But no matter how many times a student takes the exercise, they cannot pass from proficient to mastered, which is the top crown, until they take some form of assessment, whether it be a unit test or a course challenge. So proficient means the student can get to an 80 or 100% in the exercises, but mastered means that they understand the content perfectly, even on assessments. Does that answer your question? Okay, and a few more seconds for any other questions, if anyone has them. Mastery, it's not necessarily 81% or higher. Let me try, okay, let me explain it differently. So let me go back to here. Okay, so mastery, let's say I took every single exercise in this module, right? If I take every single exercise in this module, I could have gotten 100% on all of them. I'm still only going to get that 80% level out of my points. The concept of mastery isn't it. I understand why you asked that question. Maybe I'm explaining it poorly, but you can get, no matter what score you get in an exercise, you get 100%. You're doing great, but it's an exercise. It's classwork, it's homework. It's not an actual test. So Khan Academy will not award the final 20% crown without taking a unit test. You can see it here. This student got 100% on their test. There's nothing else to improve. However, they cannot level up without taking the unit test itself. So Khan Academy wants to be sure it's not just a question of repeating, just, hey, okay, I can do it holistically in a test incorporating other elements too. My pleasure, my pleasure. Okay, last call before moving forward. Any other questions? Okay, so I believe the question came earlier about setting up my classes and codes. What happens? Well, I have 10 minutes left. Can I do this in 10 minutes? Yes, I can. Okay, how do you create a student account as a teacher? Sometimes students create their own account. They want to join your class. It's coming up. But for now, how do you create a student account if you need to? You have a student, they don't have an email address, they're completely clueless as to what they should do. You can help them. So you can go here. Okay, so in terms of creating a student account, you can go ahead and add new students. So up top here, I seem to have highlighted the wrong thing. Up top here, you have the option for add new students, yes? So if you go ahead and you click on add new students, this screen will pop up. This screen asks you how you would like to add new students. Well, you can go ahead and you can create your students' accounts. This is particularly useful if you have elementary school children. You can create your students' accounts for them, worst case scenario, and you can create their accounts. You can go ahead, you can type in the student's name, whatever it may be. When you do that, Khan Academy will generate an automatic username for them, and then you can create the password for them as well. Again, this is typically used for elementary school students, but you know, Khan Academy is great for elementary too, so I wanted to include that. And this is how you would create a student's account and their password. And this method, of course, gives you complete control. So if you ever have Jean who says, "Oh no, miss, I've forgotten my password." If you have Juanito who's forgotten his password, or John who's forgotten his password, you can say, "Don't worry, I'll just go in there and I'll edit it." This gives you control over their account to a certain extent. And actually, I mean, the question, these two kind of go hand in hand, so I'll present both together. The other option, how can a student create an account? I mean, here we learned how you can create a student account. You basically go to add new students. You create your student's account, write their name, create their password. There seems to be a little feedback. If someone could please mute themselves just in case. Okay. And then you created their accounts. Now, if a student wants to create an account, they go to Khan Academy, they sign up, click sign up, Then they go ahead and they click on, here we are. They click on learner. So let me just zoom in there just in case. Okay, so after the student clicks sign up on the top right hand side, they're going to join as a learner. They put in their birthday, fairly obvious. This question actually relates to what I think was asked earlier about I set up my classes and I have codes, but what happens next? Well, when the student is signing up, if they've never created their account before, when the student signs up, they put in their birthday, and there they can enter your class code, which means they will automatically register to your class. And then after they put in their birthday, they move on to the next section where they have to create their account. I strongly recommend, I understand some of our students are quite, they have email, they use it, they have personal emails, they want to use it. I strongly recommend students sign up with email, the bottom option, and then they sign in with their day school's email. If they sign up with their day school's email and something goes wrong, they forgot the password, you can send a reset link to the day school's email, which you have some degree of access to. If they sign up with their personal email and they lock themselves out of their personal email, that's it. They have lost their progress. So I try to make sure that students always sign up with day school's email. And as you can see, for entertainment purposes, this particular student was born on January 1st, 1935, because why not? Okay, and after that, I mean, the students would essentially just put in their day school's email, so 0000@students.dateschools.net, their first name, their last name, and then they create a password. Again, I strongly recommend that students, in addition to using their day school's email, use their day school's password too, less to forget. They're using the same info for all their educational stuff, kind of makes sense. And again, how does the student join my class? I think this was answered in both of the previous mini presentations, but basically you share your class code. So you created your class code, you share it. Now the students on their end, this is what they see. On the bottom left of their screen, Michael over here sees teachers. So if he wants to join a class, he's going to click teachers. He clicks on that. And here, after clicking on teachers, Michael sees an option that says enter class code. He clicks on it and he enters the class code. That's it. So I know here we covered 3 topics together. We basically covered how you can create student accounts, how students can sign up for Khan Academy, and how they can just join your class. So when it comes to that, does anyone have any questions? Any questions relating to what we just covered about creating student accounts, joining your class, that kind of stuff, the practical stuff?
Yes.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
If we as a teacher create the account,
Yeah.
and then the student on their end creates their own account. How can I say this? Is there a way, if the teacher, for example, if the students were already using Khan Academy, and the teacher, they created their own account on their own, no teacher, they're not linked to any teacher, then the teacher goes in afterwards and create their own account. Does that interfere with each other? Like, would they have 2 accounts?
Yeah.
Like, create a class account. You see what anybody understanding what I'm saying?
I understand completely.
Sorry, I was muted.
I muted you because we're getting feedback when more than one person is speaking. Sorry.
No problem at all. To answer your question, yes. I mean, it doesn't actually create an issue, no. Because what you can do is, let's say you have a duplicate. Yes, you have a duplicate student here, which is your student roster, and I created an example class. This is no student information. That's the only reason I haven't done the presentation live from Khan Academy, by the way. I just didn't want to give away student information, so I did screenshots. So here, let's say you have 2 Gareth Pearsons, right? Let's say you want to find the duplicate and get rid of it. Go to the right-hand side, this little checkbox, I'm going to select it. I go to Actions, Remove from Class. That's it. You got rid of the duplicate.
Okay, so what would happen to their progress if I get rid to their create? You see,
whichever. I'm sorry, what? Mm-hmm.
Like, if I get rid of their account that they had already created prior to me creating my class account, would that what would happen to their progress? They would lose all of that information?
Yes and no. They will never lose the information because the progress belongs to their account. You've just removed their account from your class. You have not deleted it. So they still have access to it. They would, it doesn't count for you, for your class. Although in your situation, what you're describing, I mean, I think the solution would just be removing the account you yourself created. Remove the new account and keep the old one instead. Does that make sense?
Yes, but I would want to be able to monitor it, is what I'm saying. So if they create their own account, can the teacher still monitor it without the student being?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes. Go ahead. No, I'm sorry. With the feedback, I'm not sure who's talking. Sorry, you were saying, can the teacher still monitor it without the student?
If the student goes ahead and creates their own individual account without the teacher, if the teacher then creates a class account for the whole entire class, can they go ahead and monitor that student account instead of creating another duplicate account just to add them to their class? Can they go ahead and monitor their information?
Yes, as long as the student's account, whenever it was created, however it was created, is added to your class, yes, you can. And from a personal example, again, a part of me wishes I could just share my screen with the other students, with other classes, but all of the students in my classes created Khan Academy accounts before they got to me. They didn't do it with me, but I can still monitor what they're doing. I can monitor their progress as long as I'm added on their accounts. As a teacher, I can monitor all their progress. I can give them assignments. I can track their scores, anything from the point that I was made their teacher. Afterward, I can monitor their scores, and anything in total, whether from before or after, I can see their progress on different missions and grade levels. Does that answer your question?
Yes. So when you do that, that does not duplicate their account, is my question. I guess not.
No, it doesn't. I understand your question. Hold on, it's not exactly sharing, but let me go ahead. Okay, so here, I led with how to create a student account because sometimes it's necessary. You don't have to. Instead, when you're starting, ask your students if they have a Khan Academy account. And then if they do, you just share the code and they go ahead and they join. That's step one. Then if they don't have a Khan Academy account, you can walk them through the creation process. You can have them sign up, create their account with you, and then put in the code and they can join that way. But as a last resort, you always have option to go ahead and create the account for them. That is always particularly useful just in case for elementary school teachers. Because of course, you have a child that's 10 years old, sometimes, parental consent might be an issue or what have you, or the child might forget their information. In that situation especially, I have colleagues in elementary school, I work at a K through 8, who prefer to create their students' accounts. But it's a matter of preference. You can do either or. Just double checking. Did that finally answer? Does that put the issue to rest? Any more doubts about that, or? Okay. I hope that has answered the question. I apologize if I didn't, but just comment again, I'll be happy to do it. Someone asked, how can we edit a student name? I'm currently sharing my screen. Let me zoom in a little bit more, just in case. Okay, so here, when I hover over the student name, on the right-hand side, I see this little option that popped up, edit display name. Now, the student put their name as Gareth Pearson. That's inconvenient for me. Let me rewrite it as Pearson, Gareth. Then let me click Save Display Name. And it's loading, but essentially it's done. That's it. Yes, they are. They're practical questions. I always appreciate those. Okay, so it takes a few seconds to load, but Oh, there absolutely is. Ms. McCoy asked a question, so there's no way a student can have two accounts, one to help boost or cheat on assignments? Absolutely. Of course there is. But we can't regulate everything, you know? Has it happened in my time? No, not really. More than anything, because it's just more work than it's worth. Why would a student create two accounts when they can just go straight to Photomath and they can cheat using Photomath? You know what I mean? In terms of Khan Academy, it's very labor intensive. Like, not to be off-putting at all. If you have an entire grade level's worth of material, they make you work for it, especially those mastery challenges, those assessments. You need to understand that material to do well. So it can be a labor-intensive process over the course of a school year. So in terms of investing in two accounts, is it possible? Absolutely. But I haven't seen it. Middle schoolers, precocious ones, aren't they? And always for the wrong things. I don't know what to tell you. It's definitely possible. And I commend them. If you have middle schoolers that are willing to go to that extent to cheat, I'm jealous. I wish mine cared enough to cheat to that extent. But no, to my knowledge, there's no way to mitigate that. Although I will say again, you have different, the test banks, they're not infinite. But basically, again, it's really labor intensive. I'm surprised they're doing this. If you have a 4-question assignment that has a test bank of 27 questions, they would have to do the assignment like 5-6 times on their first account to then get all the answers, to look at those answers, to do all the assignment again on their main account. It's possible, but whoa, they're being very diligent there. And I'm sorry that's happening to you. I'm really grateful that hasn't happened to me. And I'm sorry I can't offer you any advice on that. Nothing comes to mind. They always find ways if they want to, I suppose. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yep, I hear you there. Even if they're not getting it, they try. I'd actually be curious if you wouldn't mind. I think my email address, by the way, if anyone has any questions, let me put it up there. If anyone has any questions they're going to ask later on, let me go ahead and make it as big as possible. My email address is gpearson@dadeschools.net. So if anyone has any questions later on, they can email to me. Ms. McCoy, I'd be very interested if you want to email me. I want to know more about this. I suppose it's a bit of a curious fascination. I want to know how they're doing this and how it's going for them. If you wouldn't mind. I'm very curious. I haven't had this happen at my school yet, but I'd love to know. Actually, I actually had an end PowerPoint slide for this, but this works too. Questions to gpearson@dadeschools.net. Any other questions? Thank you very much, Mr. McCoy. Any other questions that anyone has, either in the chats, asking out loud, anything you got?
Yes.
Oh, let me mute myself.
Okay, can you?
Oh, this is really bad. There's really bad feedback. Can you type your question in? Oh.
Please, sorry about that. Okay, while that question is being typed in, I believe Ms. Polanco asked a question about how we can delete old classes. So actually, it's very simple. I don't like to delete them. I like to archive them. Thank you very much, Mr. Rudd. So I like to, oh, no, Mayday, no. Okay, my apologies. Okay, so I don't like to delete. I have a preference for archiving, but yeah, of course you can. You can go ahead, you can find any class you would like. Let me see if I can zoom out. Find a class that you want to delete. Go to Settings on the bottom left. Okay, and under Settings, the very last option, as is always the case, it's always the last option, you have the option to delete this class. So once again, go to the class, go to Settings, and then delete this class. And that should take care of it. And again, my apologies, the person who was asking the question before with all the feedback, yes, you can also archive Actually, for archive, for archiving, this is just me. There's not actually a Khan Academy option to archive. So what I do instead is, at least not that I've discovered, what I do instead is my previous classes, I just rename them. So here, my previous year's classes, I just put a Z in front of them. And because Khan Academy is alphabetical, they drop all the way down. So, I mean, Saturday School from 2 years ago, I put a Z in front of it, it drops to the very end of my list. From 2 years ago, I put a Y. From 3 years ago, I put an X. That way, when I log in, I just see my current classes, and everything else is all the way at the bottom. It's not a perfect solution, but I mean, it's functional. I don't think I'll have an issue for at least 10 more years. And once again, I'm very sorry. There was that particular attendee who had a question, and there was the feedback, but I very, very much want to answer your question. I wanted to know if you got a chance to put it in the chat. If not, feel free to try again. I'm going to mute myself. Hopefully the feedback doesn't happen, but I do want to answer your question. You're welcome, Ms. Polanco. Okay, putting myself on mute. Questions? Of course, with pleasure. So the question was, how can I use Khan Academy to differentiate instruction? So, okay, let me go, and I'm going to demonstrate it live this time. So let me zoom in. So let's say I want to assign different content to different students, okay? So when I go to courses, I teach 7th grade, so I'll use 7th grade. Oh, of course, no problem at all. So let's say I teach 7th grade, yeah? But my students are having issues with 5th grade stuff, which literally always happens to me. Always, every single school year, every single class. So let's say, okay, perfect. Oh yes, by all means, Ms. Labrada Ricardo, by all means, email me, by all means. Okay, so let's say I have a student, perfect example. 7th grade, I want to teach students how to divide negative fractions. Well, you're very welcome, Miss or Dr. Torres Quiñones. I don't know why. I have something in my head that says, remember, that's a doctor. I'm not sure if I'm correct or not, just in case. Okay, so let's say I want to teach my students divide negative fractions. Well, they can't do that if they can't multiply fractions. Multiplying fractions should, I think, don't quote me on this, should be a 5th grade standard, right? We have a few options. You could go back to 5th grade, you could search it up, or you could just go to the search bar up top, and you can look for multiplying fractions. It pops up. So I can go ahead and click on multiplying fractions. Intro to multiplying two fractions. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and click on that. Okay, voila. Here you get the video itself pop up, and then on the left-hand side you have the sequence, kind of. You have the sequence of what videos to watch and what exercises. So let's say I want to assign this again. Okay, so let's say I want to go ahead and assign this instead of period 5 math, because that has actual student names. Let's go to example class, right? Now, I want to assign it to example class. I can either assign it to the whole class, because let's face it, sometimes whole groups need some remedial instruction, or I can click on all students, and I can personally select, thank you very much, Ms. Polanco, I can personally select which students will receive this. So you don't have to assign a video or an exercise to a whole class, though you can if you want. You can assign it to different classes. And again, you can do it based on whatever grade level you prefer. Let's say, I mean, I use math because, of course, I'm so much more familiar with it. But let's say you want to assign under language arts. Let's say you're a language arts teacher. Let's say you go to language arts, and let's say I want to find grammar. Yes? Let's say I'm teaching at a more advanced level, but I have a child that when they're writing essays doesn't really understand. Okay, let's say they don't understand how to phrase sentences correctly and you want to review verbs with them. You can just scroll to grammar, parts of speech, the verb. Very welcome, Miss Del Gaudio. I hope that I said that correctly. I apologize if I didn't. Okay, so here you want to assign this video to them. You can. You just go ahead. Here's the video. You can go ahead. You can select which student you want to assign it to, when's it due by, which class, and boom. You can use that for remedial instruction. The same thing, of course, goes with exercises. So let's say they want to identify verbs. So she went to the library, find the verb, went, and then, okay, this is an exercise you want to use, you can assign it to whichever students in whichever class you would like. Does that answer your question? Does that answer your question? The question about remedial instruction for students 1 or 2 grade levels behind?
Okay, can you hear me better now?
Yes, much better. I'll mute myself. Go ahead.
Yes. So I would. Okay. So where are you? This is a follow-up question to this. Because should I use information based on their performance matters data or their iReady assessment, and then search for stuff over here? Or I remember you saying that there's a test, there's a little assessment that Khan Academy gives them to kind of see where they are. So in order to, I just want to make certain that I cover all the gaps possible. And also, since we're in March, is this something that we can set up for them to do in the summer, for them to continue, like assign lessons ahead of time before the school year is over, and leave it at their disposal should they want to go ahead and take advantage of that during the summer months. So it's 2 or 3 different questions, but it's still related to addressing the gaps. So where are you getting the information that they need identifying verbs, or they need multiplication? Are you pulling that from another place, or are you pulling that from Khan Academy itself?
Sure thing. So basically, my answer is it's up to your discretion. I mean, all of us as teachers, we have the prerogative of choosing a lot of information on what assessments we offer, correction, I know we're all somewhat forced to do certain forms of assessment. We have the prerogative of choosing whether or not we're using that assessment information for remedial instruction or our own. So it's your choice. Me, for example, let me go to, hold on. I'm going to try to load this off screen so you guys don't see any personal student information, but just give me 1 second while I make that happen. Done. Okay, so let's go to placement, and I will answer both of your questions, by the way. They're excellent. So, activity overview, skills. Yes, let's go to skills. So, no, wrong grade level. Let's go to 7. Yes. Okay, it's still loading on my end. Just give me 1 second. So basically, it's a matter of choice for all of us. It depends on what you feel more comfortable with, what you want to use. So, okay, perfect. So for me, I use Khan Academy data. Once again, I went to my period, and I went to activity overview, and I went to skills. If I'm looking at skills, I can see how my class is doing. So here, for remedial instruction, for example, just by hovering over the actual exercise, I can see, okay, I have 1 student who's mastered, 16 are proficient. I should probably target these 5 in familiar and this 1 in attempted for this specific skill or this specific standard, what have you. Now, if I open this, I'm going to get their exact names, so I know who I'm assigning it to. You're welcome, Ms. Del Gaudio. Oh, no, I already said that to her. I apologize. Okay, so if I click on this exercise name, I'm going to get the breakdown. I'm going to get which students need the help, and I can base it on that. That's my personal choice as a teacher. I'm obviously not going to do it on screen because though there are actual students. If you want to do it on, if you want to do it on performance matters assessments, you can. I mean, for performance matters assessments, let's say you get the breakdown. Okay, the student is weak in this standard. You read the standard and you're like, oh, okay, so the standard includes, let's say it's English again, verbs. Okay, then you find a verb exercise in Khan Academy and you assign that. Excellent resource just in case, Khan Academy Common Core Map. An excellent resource if you happen to be a math teacher, which of course I am, so you know I got to represent. Ta-da! Welcome to a website for Common Core Math Standards for Khan Academy. So you pick your grade level. Let's say I'm grade level 5. Okay, here on the left-hand side, I have my domains. Let's say I want to do number and operation fractions. Boom, I click on that. Every single standard under this domain is listed here with its corresponding Khan Academy exercises. And I'll put this link in the chat just in case, but it is incredible. So you can do, if you have a report, for example, that shows you previous material, previously scaffolded material that you want to go ahead and use, you can just go straight to that report. You can go to the Common Academy Common Core map and you can just pull up that information and go with material from a previous scaffolding standard. You can do that. But yeah, that's basically at your discretion. The link is in the chat for this website, by the way. That's at your discretion. I can't say one way or the other. That's however you would prefer to do it. In terms of doing it for the summer, yes, you can, and that's an excellent thing to do. So basically, if I go to activity overview, let me go back to my example of 7th grade class. You can also go ahead and do something called course mastery, which if I go to progress, I mean, it's your choice. You can assign individual specific assignments for the summer, but that might be a bit lengthy. So instead, I know there's a way to do this. You can assign individual assignments, or you can just tell them, hey, guys, go to courses, 5th grade math, or 5th grade reading. Do it on your own. You get an extra credit if you're at a certain percentage next year. It's your call. There's a specific way, forgive me, there is a specific way to assign course. Yes, I can edit courses. So let's say I want to add 8th grade math, and I save it. Now you can track your progress along 8th grade math. I haven't done it in a while, but yes, there is a way. I'm sorry, I wish I could be more specific, but I don't want to stand here trying to remember and waste time. Okay, there was another question. Would you recommend that I start with the Khan Academy placement test before using the program as a whole with my class? Yes. Yes, just because, start with a Khan Academy placement test to figure out what the kids know or what they don't know, but also so you can get a feel on it if you feel comfortable with it, This isn't mandated or anything. You're doing this because you feel comfortable with it, because you like it. So, see if you like it, how the children respond to it, and then based on that would be my advice. You're very welcome. Okay, any other questions? Any other questions at all? I'll mute myself just in case. Or follow-up questions if I didn't answer your question.
I don't want to take the whole floor for myself, but if somebody has other questions, you can answer them and then come back to me. I have another computer here and I'm trying to create my student account because I would like to use this as soon as possible. I mean, my teacher account for my students, because I teach 2nd grade. And they are, as I said in the chat, they're behind. And so I'm trying to catch them up and I'm driving myself crazy here. So I think this would help me, my sanity, and this would help them. And I can, track it, I can monitor it. And so it's taking me to Clever. It's taking me to Clever, I guess because it's linked. I'm trying to bypass all of this. So what I'm saying is there a tutorial? Uh-oh. Okay, I'm saying all of this to say, is there a tutorial, even though you went over how to assign them, but is there a tutorial that you can do kind of quickly? Because I don't know, how to share my screen. Okay, maybe I'm not logged into my portal. Sorry.
I think I have found a tutorial for you. So it's a Khan Academy for educators. They do their own professional development. So this might be able to help. So you're creating your account for the first time, correct?
Yes, sir. I'm creating my account for the first time.
Okie dokie. I don't know if this will answer all your questions because, like you said, you have a Clever issue, and that's just Dade County Public Schools at its finest, isn't it? Okay, so here, since I have two people with the same exact question, let me go ahead and post it in the chat so you guys can access it now. I just went ahead and I posted the link so you guys can access it. But setting up your Khan Academy teacher account, basically go to khanacademy.org, click on teachers. Then you get a registration box. Maybe, how about this? Instead, don't do it with Clever. Just sign up with email. So instead of signing up with Clever, just sign up with, it's your choice whether you want to use a personal email or the Dade County one. Personally, I use the personal one because let me tell you, even for me as a teacher, getting to 100% of these grade levels ain't easy. So that progress is mine. Dade County ain't got nothing to do with that. I want to keep my progress. So I sign up with a personal account. It's your choice, but if you sign up with email instead of Clever, it might help you. Just a thought.
Gareth, I went in to try to do it with Clever, and it said the district disabled it. So I had to go back and start with Google.
Oh, well, that's the first I've heard about it, but thank you for letting me know. It honestly wouldn't surprise me. Khan Academy is an application that every single student has on their portal, but the district disabled it. That's, I believe you 100%. That sounds about right. Oh boy. Thank you. Thank you very much. I think that was that Miss McCoy?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, so many screens. Thank you for that piece of information, Ms. McCoy. In that case, yeah, I think that corroborates what I was saying. Don't try doing it with Clever itself. Try doing it with your independent email instead. You know? And also, by the way, I think this relates to what Ms. McCoy said. I mean, the wonderful thing about Khan Academy, I mean, students can log in through their portal, but it's not tied to their portal. Students can log in with Clever, but it's not tied to Clever. It's its own independent website. The portal's down, students can still log in. Clever's down, students can still log in. It always works. Oh, and I just realized I never mentioned this. Oh, how can I go through a whole presentation on Khan Academy not mentioning this? Not only is it fully available in English and Spanish, which is awesome, but it's also a phone app. So students can just go on their phone. If your student has a tablet, they can use it. If they have a phone, they can use it. If they have a laptop or a desktop, they can use it. There are very few limitations. That's something else I love about them. Excellent question. No, they don't need an app. They can either download the app onto their phones, or they can go to the web browser on their phones, if it's Safari or if it's Chrome, and they can just go to Khan Academy, and they can do everything on the web browser on their phones. Of course. That's probably what I love best about Khan Academy. It's flexible. They only can do it on a computer. Other things, Edgenuity sometimes works on computer, definitely doesn't work on phones all the times. But Khan Academy, they can do on any device that they want. Has subtitles in multiple languages. It's fully bilingual in English and Spanish, which for South Florida, I mean, it isn't a perfect fix. We have a very large Haitian Creole population, but it helps. It's just extraordinarily flexible. That's what I love the most about it. Yes, free, always the best. I know that I had those two. Okay, so I believe Miss Whipple and the other commenter, who I'm sorry, their name is not popping up, but you two were trying to, the second grade teachers, you two were trying to create your accounts. Have you guys had success in doing it with email?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
good.
Yes, we're on it. We're on it. Thank you.
Woohoo, wonderful. By the way, since you're on it, just letting you know, since you want this for remediation, remember that under courses, specifically for math, because, you know, once again, that's my thing, but specifically for math, oh, they don't have it for second. I'm sorry. Here they have the cute little get ready mini units that they have for incoming ones, but unfortunately not for second grade. Not to worry, you can still, you know, you can find remedial instruction from first grade. It's not an issue. It's not
We can use the get ready for third grade because we're going to need that anyways, because they need to get ready for the third grade. I tell them that every day.
Sounds about right. Okay, so my second grade teachers are now able to go in there and log in. Does anyone else have any other questions, comments, concerns? Again, just in case, my email address, let me put it up there. You can always email me as well. When you're creating it, Ms. Del Rio, is that what you're asking? Is there a way to change their username when you create it yourself? Unfortunately, no, I don't think so. Because you're creating it within the Khan Academy system, so they automatically assign a username. So no, I'm afraid not. But, you know, like with everything else, and no matter how young they are, even with elementary schoolers, we have some teachers over here that they're in elementary school, but the usernames are complicated. The kids write it down, but you know, within the first 5 tries, they'll remember it. They'll get it. But it's just a matter of habit. I might be wrong on that. There might be a way, but not that I know of. Of course, of course.
Mr. Pearson, I am at the student roster screen. Do I have to add each and every, like, one student at a time? Invite your Google Classroom. Students join with a class link or create your own accounts. Invite your Google Classroom. The fastest, easiest way to invite.
Well, this is up to you. Are you going to, they are second graders, so you know your children best, but are you going to have students create their accounts individually, or are you going to create their accounts for them?
I think it might be best if I create their accounts for them because I have some very proactive parents, but I have some, they're not going to do it. So that's why I'm trying to do it now while it's fresh in my mind while I'm in the training with you. If I create their own accounts, I have to do one individually.
Yes, I believe so. For creating, I'm here too. I'm still sharing my screen. So for here, I'd have students 1, students 2, student 3. Yes, from what I can see, you would have to do it individually. But again, the bright side is their username is automatically assigned, so you don't have to do that. But yes, you would have to write in their names individually. And remember, you can write their names, first name, last name, and you can edit it later on. But yes, you would have to do it individually.
I just wanted to share that I just discovered that when you are adding or you're adding your own students or creating the accounts for your students in your class, if you write their first and last name, it makes their username less complex, because when I was only using their first name, sometimes it looked like a zip code of numbers after their first name. So I think it does make it less complicated if you write their first and last name, and it might only be one number after it or 2 numbers. But when I only wrote their first name, it was like a ridiculous number after that. And I teach 3rd grade, so they're gonna have troubles no matter what. But I just wanted to put it out there.
Thank you. That's an excellent point. Thank you. You taught me something new. Since I don't usually create, I didn't know that. I've updated the screen that I'm sharing in case anyone is looking there. I've updated it to include a few first name, last name examples. And yes, the unique usernames are much simpler. Thank you, Mr. Rio.
So it's getting kind of late. So if there are no more questions, do you think it's time to wrap this up, guys, or do you want to keep going?
Is there a way that we can reach you, or you can do a part 2 to this, Mr. Pearson? Like if we have any questions after we set up the account?
There's his email address there on the screen, and I'll do a survey. Please mute. Yeah, I'll do a survey, and if enough people want a second session of this, then we can consider it for sure.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Pearson.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Pearson. This has been amazing. I mean, you've done an amazing job. These questions were fantastic too, teachers. So thank you all for coming. I know it's getting late and folks have dinner to cook and things like that and papers to grade. I hope you guys got a lot out of it. Please put a thumbs up or a reaction. Let me know if this was helpful. And real quick, I just want to share something with you guys, if I can get it up on my screen in time. No, that's not it. Nope. Anyway, I don't want to hold you guys up. I was just trying to put my email address. If you have questions or other ideas that you would like to see covered in these webinars, you could please email me. And I would love to try to, work something out where we can cover other topics that might be of help to you. So you can just drop me an email, which you should have because I emailed you with everything. But here it is again. And if you just have any comments, we also would appreciate it if you shoot me an email just telling me if you enjoyed this webinar, if it was helpful to you. These things are really helpful when we're speaking with our donors and raising money. And we raise money to put back into the programs that support you, like this webinar. So we actually pay our teachers a little stipend for their time for leading webinars for you guys. So if you have an idea of a webinar you'd like to lead that you think teachers would benefit from, please let me know as well. All right, so we would appreciate any kind of thank you, or let us know if you got something good out of this, if this was helpful, and also if there are other topics that you'd like to see. So thank you guys for coming. Gareth, do you have any final words for teachers?
I mean, not particularly, outside of thank you so much for coming and taking time out of your busy schedules. I know for me, I got 1 hour to jump on home, eat, and then starts job 2. So I really appreciate that so many of you took the time. I really hope that you've learned something useful and something productive that you can definitely apply starting tomorrow, if you so chose. But yeah, I hope I helped, and I'm always available if you have questions. Thank you so much. And thank you very much, Audrey, and the Education Fund for making this possible. Because, whoa, it's nice when you have professional developments that aren't district mandated and that are useful and to the point. Not that I'm saying that all district ones or that district ones are bad. I'm just saying it's a nice change of pace to have other sources of information. So thank you very much, Audrey, and the Education Fund.
Well, that's what we're here for. And thank you guys for all the work that you do in helping our community and doing what you do. It is such a thankless profession on so many levels, but I know that the gratification of knowing that you're literally changing the world, hopefully offset some of the frustrations and challenges, especially of this past year with COVID. And I pray for your safety and hope you guys all get vaccinated soon and you'll get back in the classrooms on full time with your students, as I know you want to be, most of you. Anyway, thank you all again. Thank you, Mr. Pearson, and we'll see you at the next one.
Thank you. Thank you, both of you, Audrey and Mr. Pearson. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Audrey, before we disconnect,